welcome everyone this afternoon to describing your performance improvement system. The 12th, the last one, except for the roundup that we've got going on in just next week. But great to kind of bring up the rear here with regards to performance improvement. So let's just get started. Okay. The slide will move forward. There we go. Okay, and so we've all seen this slide before. It sets the jumping off point for all of these sessions. The organizational profile acts really as the foundation of the entire application process. The entire Sterling process really describes your organization to both your organization and to other organizations, and it helps you identify what those key aspects about your organizations that you have that you want to bring out, and what gaps may be in that information, and provide those to examiners that may be reviewing it. And so with performance improvement systems, in a nutshell, performance improvement systems are the organizational approach for improving the outcomes in your organization, right? And so this system should be utilized at all levels of the organization. So there shouldn't be any gaps associated with who uses this system and how it's used. And so when we start looking at the criteria and we look at all of the process categories, we find words that are embedded inside of the criteria itself, because this is the single thread that kind of pulls through the entire criteria as far as improvement is concerned. And so we see words like improve and learn and keep current and adopt and eliminate. And so all of those are kind of code words or keywords that give us an opportunity to be able to explain how our performance improvement system is integrated into our processes, okay? And so the performance improvement system itself includes elements of setting by direction by leadership, okay? So leadership is involved in setting direction in the organization primarily, and the performance improvement system contains aspects of that. Strategic planning, of course, the single most important improvement document that you should have in your organization, right? So all strategic plans contain things like the things that we want to improve or the things that we're not doing yet that we need to do in order to assure our sustainability. And so it smacks of performance improvement system, work systems and process management, improvement methodologies, all of these pieces of the puzzle. Governance in the organization is linked and integrated with performance improvement systems. Now, there are a lot of different kinds of approaches that you can take out here, right? And so the diagram on the left side of the screen really talks about it. It's at the surface is, PDCA or PDSA, whichever you subscribe to. And then the other approaches that are out there like Six Sigma or Lean or Agile that are available for you to utilize as an organization. And so there's a lot of different approaches that you can take with regards to performance improvement systems in your organization. Now, the next real big piece of the puzzle is really enculturating performance improvement into your organization. So on the left side of the screen here, one of the things that we did in 2018 was really look at and try to codify what we were doing here at the Florida Department of Health in Broward County as far as culture was concerned. So we came up with this model, and so it's got these three sections in it. But performance improvement is really concerned with this third one, this big one at the end, right? This relationship establishment and reinforcement systems. And so they help with that. So organizational culture as a whole, you should try to embed the concept of performance improvement into your organization. So we begin with, at least here, that the only thing that can improve are dead things. And so the organization's living and breathing along with its processes, and it should be a cycle of continuous improvement all the time that happens, and it should be in your culture. That's driven by the leadership of the organization, but it's really done performed by the staff. And what I mean by that is that, while accountability in an organization like ours is driven from the top, the people that are actually doing the work are the folks that do the work every day, the staff that do the work every day, and they're best positioned to understand where the pitfalls are in any processes and where we're missing the mark. And so they're the ones that are really performing these particular pieces of the puzzle. Now, at its core, any performance improvement system has curiosity as its center. Why is this happening? If we're not performing as well as we could, or we need to improve something to be able to keep up with our competitors, why is it happening that it is? And how do we get down to that core of what needs to be really improved instead of working on things like symptoms, okay? It also helps with pushing the power down in the organization, right? Pushing the power at and really having folks in the organization make decisions at the lowest level that they need to be made at, instead of having leadership make all the decisions. So it allows for that piece. That in turn fosters ownership in the process. So people want to improve and they help support what they create. And so allowing folks the opportunity to be able to improve and access those systems is extremely important. Now that has the added effect of increasing communication across the organization, which puts off the siloing effect in organizations. So you can have people that are experts in their area come together to be able to solve specific organizational problems and cross-pollinate across the organization, which really works. For us, as we solve problems, as we use the improvement systems in the organization, we celebrate our successes, right? But we're never satisfied with them. And so we have an innate dissatisfaction with success, at least in our organization, so that we can be on this continuous improvement kind of mindset. And then it helps us shift from defining solutions, which we do a lot of in Western thinking. We spend an enormous amount of time defining solutions, and instead of really defining problems. And so, the philosophy goes that the more acutely you can define your problem, the more readily evident the solution becomes, and more likely that it's a root cause that you can have sustained improvement with. And then finally, what we've got here is the integration of performance improvement across your organization, right? And so that's kind of this barrel of monkeys approach that we have, that I've got in this picture here. When you're thinking about improvement, when you're thinking about integration in the organization, you should be able to pull. It's like a barrel of monkeys. You pull out one monkey and other monkeys come with it. And so other processes should follow along with your performance improvement system. They should be integrated inside of what it is that you do. Now, I said before that there are many approaches, right? And they're all really good. You just need to pick one and stick with it. That consistency is going to provide you what you need to improve in your organization. If you're doing what a lot of folks do, which is to look at the New York Times bestseller list and start to pick systems from there and implement them all the time, you're going to get fits and starts and improvements. So you want to try to avoid that management by bestseller. Like I said, all the systems are good. Pick one and stick with it. You should select one that fits your organizational function, right? So there's a difference between Lean and Six Sigma, right? One is primarily concerned. Lean is primarily concerned with waste, which kind of leads to organizations that are service in nature. And Six Sigma is more manufacturing oriented. So it's looking at defects. It's looking at solving those problems that are causing defects in the system. But you might be an IT organization and you might need something a little bit different than that. So Agile comes into the picture with regards to that, and maybe be a more perfect performance improvement system for you and your organization, or you can make up your own. I mean, that's always a possibility here, is that you come up with a better mousetrap to be able to solve the problems that you have in your organization. The improvement system serves every key system. All right. So with integration, so your leadership system, your strategic development, your strategic planning systems, your organizational transformation should all be utilizing your performance improvement system. They should have inputs into that process. And you should be using the same technique throughout the entire organization. There shouldn't be silos of which improvement systems are out there to use. You should pick one, stick with it, and everyone in your organization should utilize it. Now, documenting your system. So this is the only section in the organizational profile that actually asks for an approach. And so all the other ones are asking for a list of things, right? Whether it be your strategic context, and you're looking at your strategic advantages and your strategic opportunities, or you're looking for a segmentation of your employees in the organization and what makes up your workforce. This one's asking for a process. And so your documentation, you can do it in a number of different ways. I've got examples here on the side, whether they can be a tree diagram, or whether they can be a process map, or whether you can just try to spell it out in a paragraph. The documentation should describe your triggers for initiation, deployment, who uses it inside of the organization, who's primarily responsible for quarterbacking those processes, the improvement process itself, of course, governance of the process, who's responsible for green lighting projects for improvement in the organization. And then finally, how are the findings utilized inside of your organization? All right. And so in summary, I mean, he's got this great quote here from Dr. Deming, survival's optional. No one has to change. Right. So you really got a lot of different improvement methodologies that you can utilize. Like I said, just pick one. They're all good. Performance improvement should be integrated everywhere in your organization. There shouldn't be any gaps with regards to how you deploy this. It should be everywhere, and you should be utilizing it all the time. All right, so because everything can be improved. Decision-making should be empowered in the organization down to the lowest levels. Everyone should be responsible for improvement in the organization. It shouldn't just be a group of individuals. Everybody should be responsible for that. You should embed improvement into your culture. It should be part of who you are. All right. What's expected is your culture. And so what you expect is who you are, whether you like it or not. And so you want to be able to embed that into your culture. Your improvement system should be a governing dynamic of your organization. It's everywhere in the criteria and should be everywhere in your organization. It should be the way that you do business. It shouldn't be something separate and apart that you do sometimes when things don't go wrong. And then finally, when we start looking at sustainable competitive advantages, when we talked about competitive advantages the last time, the only sustainable one is the rate of improvement that you have against your competitors. That's the only thing that you really have out there that can be sustained by any organization. So rate of improvement, you get a performance improvement system.